And phones belonging to hundreds of journalists, activists and politicians have been hacked by governments using spyware owned by Israeli surveillance company, the NSO Group. The Israeli firm has called the investigation's findings exaggerated and baseless. Well, we can now speak to Siddharth Varadarajan. He's a founding editor of The Wire and a journalist whose phone was hacked. He joins us now from New Delhi. Siddharth, let me start by asking you how you found out you were being monitored with this Pegasus software.
Well, we have been working with Forbidden Stories, which is a Paris-based media organization, a non-profit. And they accessed this database of numbers and decided to assemble a collaborative media project involving news organizations from around the world, and The Wire is one of them. And of course, as part of the research into what these numbers were, my number popped out, and that's in a way why they also reached out to me. And so I was informed about this by Forbidden Stories, and we had the phone forensically examined by Amnesty International, and the infection was detected.
Siddharth, I know there's plenty of speculation about the agencies involved here, but nothing concrete. What kind of work do you do that you think might have made you a target?
Well, I'm one of the founding editors of The Wire, and we are India's leading independent media platform at a time when most big media organizations have decided to lay low and not provide critical coverage of what's happening in the country. So we are really at the cutting edge of independent journalism here, and have been for the last 6 years since we started, right? So there is no doubt in my mind that my selection as a target, and my colleague M.K. Venu, whose phone was also tested and found positive, and 3-4 other people who work with are very closely associated with Wire, is linked to the kind of work we do.
Is there any kind of legal recourse? Yeah. I understand this kind of surveillance is illegal in India.
Yes, hacking, there is something known as lawful surveillance, lawful interception, and there's a prescribed procedure for this, mentioned in statute, in government rules, as well as in Supreme Court guidelines. And the use of Pegasus, which involves hacking into a smartphone, is specifically excluded from the definition of lawful surveillance because it is defined as one of the constituents of the crime of hacking. So if Pegasus has been found on my phone, as we can confirm, this means my phone was hacked. This means a crime was committed. So the question is, who has committed this crime? Now, NSO is on the record as saying that they only sell their spyware to so-called vetted governments. So it's really for the government of India to answer. And when they've been asked in the past that, are you a user of Pegasus? The answers have stopped well short of a categorical denial. So the government has never denied on the record that they use Pegasus. So I think that this is something which it is an offense in India, and it needs to be investigated and probed. And perhaps only the judiciary has the ability to push for some kind of independent investigation into this scandal.
Well, let me ask you then, Siddharth. I mean, this is software, as we say, developed by an Israeli company. You're an Indian journalist. Do you worry that Israeli surveillance practices are perhaps influencing the way that other states operate?
Well, we know that the Israelis have, in military and surveillance technology, have developed a lot of tools which are very useful for governments around the world, particularly those that play fast and loose with humanitarian norms or democratic norms. And so the targeting of journalists cannot be justified by any recourse to national security, which is the usual alibi cited by governments when they tread on civil liberties. Here you have, and it's a cross-section of journalists, incidentally. The Wire may be seen as critical of the government, but we have identified journalists in there who are actually seen or have a reputation of being quite close to the government. So, it's a full range of people who have been targeted. And so this usual argument that, oh, this is national security or interests of the state simply doesn't wash when you have indiscriminate targeting of this kind.
Siddharth Varadarajan there, founding editor of The Wire, speaking to us from New Delhi. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences here with us on Al Jazeera.
Thank you for having me.